So, a little while ago, I was in a reclusive state, and while I was in a state, I was thinking a little bit about the dynamic between optimism and pessimism, and they both have a negative and a positive aspect to each. With optimism, one of the positives is that it provides you with a light at the end of the tunnel. It gives you a carrot on a stick, something to strive for. I remember when I was like really young, I really wanted to be a football player. I wanted to be in the NFL, and I'm just this skinny Haitian kid with very limited athletic ability. Well, I was pretty fast, but that was about it, and I was tall, so that was one thing I had going for me. But it's very unrealistic in a bigger frame of things. It's not. I believe it's only like 2% of high school students that actually make it to the NFL. So, although as unrealistic as it may be, I still worked really hard. I was in the weight room. I did my sprints. Went to practice every day, and I did everything the coaches asked of me. So it gives you the thing about optimism is the great thing about optimism is that it provides you with a carrot on a stick, something to strive for. And let's move on to the pessimism side of things. One of the positives of pessimism is that it shields you from disappointment, and it helps to tamper your expectations. With pessimism, you don't want to feel disappointment. It's a very hurtful thing to feel, so much so that it traumatizes people. You don't want to place yourself where you want to expect the worst, but you don't want to experience the worst even more. Imagine telling yourself, okay, I really like this woman right here, but I'm afraid she might not be the one. So as a shielding mechanism to prevent you from feeling heartbroken and disappointed, what you're going to do is you're going to tell yourself something like, she might not be the one, preemptively. You know what I mean? And because you're expecting the worst, you're not opening yourself up to be hurt. And that's one of the positives of pessimism. It shields you from disappointment, and it's a shield along levels of Captain America would wield. And it tampers expectations, and it helps you see with a very clear-eyed view. Although that view might be a little bit foggy, it still helps you see with a clear-eyed view, and you can make decisions with clarity, because there's no delusion that you can see through the window. And that brings me to the negative side of each. One of the negative aspects of optimism is that too much optimism, it can blind you from reality, and it can lead you to poor decision making and having to face the consequences of it. The line between what's real and what's not is so murky that it becomes dangerous. You're more likely to experience mania, delusions of grandeur, and you're more likely to, I would say, you're more likely to defer to the false self. So that's one of the negatives of optimism. You don't want to be in a place of life where you're too optimistic, so much so that you've left the world of realism and you've entered the realm of delusion. That brings me to the pessimism negative. The obvious negative of pessimism is that you never truly reach your full potential because you're always second guessing yourself. You're not only just second guessing yourself, but you never take the steps forward to get out of the situation that you're in because you're constantly demeaning yourself. You know what I mean? Not only that, but pessimism is so closely related to realism that too much realism, you don't want to have an overdose of realism because then it's going to lead you to a very, very dark depression when you're constantly being bombarded by these cruel truths. It's disparaging to be in. With optimism is closely related to delusion. Pessimism is closely related to realism. But one thing I would say is, as with most things in life, it's about balancing each of the positive and negative aspects of things. You don't want to drink too much water. As healthy as it may be, you can still die of an overdose from drinking too much water. You can't overdose on optimism / delusion. You can't overdose on pessimism / realism. So I would say you would have to be around, I'd say, 60-40 in favor of pessimism. You can see the world as is. You can see the world as is. You can see the world how it is going to be. But you still have that dash of optimism and delusion, so much so that you're able to strive to be better than what you are currently. But not enough to leave you in the realm of delusion and the unrealistic. It's about balancing both things out. So I'd say about 60-40 in favor of pessimism.